Welcome to the Happy, Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and Randy, who reveal the truth, the lies, and confusion about health so that you are no longer the victim to mainstream medical dogma and you are the hero to your own happy, healthy story.
Hey there, with cold and flu season in full swing, we are taking on one of the biggest myths that is out there, Dr. Randy. It's the belief that you can catch a cold from someone else.
Wow, you hear it all the time, right? So today we're going to break down exactly what causes these symptoms, right? Is your body doing the right thing or the wrong thing? Why is your body more intelligent than most people realize? And how to create an internal environment that keeps you strong all season long. Today is going to be a lot of fun.
Welcome back to the Happy, Healthy Life Podcast with your host, Rob and
Randy.
And we are
The Happy, Healthy Guys.
Yes, today is going to be that age-old question. You know what? How do I keep myself healthy during this cold and flu season? And how do I avoid catching the colds? We talk to people all the time that say things to us like, oh my gosh, everybody around me is sick right now, and I don't want to catch whatever it is that they have. I'm staying away from them because I don't want to catch the cold. Yeah, what's your thought on that when somebody says that to you?
It's such an interesting conversation because it seems to happen daily. I actually had that conversation this morning with a lady this morning, and I was walking up to our headquarters here in Grapevine, Texas, and it's a lady who works next door, and she said, "Yeah, don't get too close. I don't want to get you sick because I caught something from a family member or a friend over the weekend." And today's topic is important because those conversations happen a lot, and really what you believe and the words that you say and the thoughts that you think, they really do matter. Today could be potentially very liberating and freeing if you're open to new information. For some of you, this is going to be painful, and your first response is to reject it, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to ask you guys two questions. What is it that you believe? And really, why do you believe it? And we've been teaching, I guess we've had conversations around this topic now for really 25 years. Every year in our clinic, we always had a workshop that we would do to talk about this time of year and why people get, quote, sick. And so when you hear, somebody making you sick, now, once you know really the truth about this topic, it almost is comical because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, number one, you're not that powerful enough to make me sick, right? So, and if you can make somebody sick, you can make somebody healthy, and that just doesn't work that way. So I think the words matter. Let's talk about maybe what these words actually mean, because when you give it that type of context, you can really disarm it and understand it in a different way.
Well, and you said something earlier. You said, why do we think these things and
Right.
and the way we believe or why we believe the way we believe. And as I'm thinking about that, I can even remember my mother saying things to me
Mhm.
like, "Hey, you know what? You need to put your jacket on. It's cold outside, and you don't want to catch a cold."
Yes.
How many times did your mom say that? If you're listening, how many times have you maybe even said it as a parent, or you had a parent say it to you? Put a jacket on, or you are going to catch a cold. So, why is the idea of catching a cold if you don't put a jacket on to go outside because it's cold outside? Why would it be, Dr. Randy, that right there is actually a fundamentally flawed statement?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I guess germs are only pathogenic when the temperature drops, right? Maybe it's not that. So yeah, the words, if you look at where they came from, words do matter. And cold came from the time of year when the temperature began to drop. So catching a cold really wasn't about catching a germ. It was when the temperature was getting colder and dropping, and under cold temperature, there is a physiological change that happens in the body. One of those changes is that the microciliary, basically the tissue of the lung, the ciliary movements that move particles out of your lungs, they begin to slow down or become a little bit more paralyzed under cold temperature. And so a lot of times what will happen is if your body needs to detox from something, you'll create a fever, you'll heat your body up, and you'll liquefy mucus to now cough out mucus to get tissue and debris out of your lungs. Same thing with influenza, catching the flu. Influenza was the influence of the temperature, influence of the cold, and certain physiological things happen when it's cold. You're not sick. Your body's just trying to potentially still detox and heal. It's just doing it in a different way. And yet somehow we blame it on a germ, a virus, or a bacteria.
Yeah, so then that's absolutely flawed. So based on what it is that you're saying, you can't walk outside and actually catch a cold then, can you?
No, no, and you don't have to worry about, somebody making you sick. And what's interesting is when you stop believing that germs make you sick, you'll stop getting sick from germs. It's a very, very powerful thing because if you believe something that's not true, it'll delay you from getting to the real reason why maybe something's going on. And so I think it's important that you know that, listen, germs aren't out to get you. These viruses, these bacteria, these colds and flus, these things aren't making you sick. You think about this time of year that we're walking into, this flu season, and it really more is a lifestyle issue than some microscopic germ or virus. And if you even look at those words, they even have even a deeper connotation.
Yeah, they do. And I remember even being in chiropractic practice where we were seeing hundreds of
Yeah.
people, thousands of people a month
Yeah.
in our offices. And I can remember there would be times when people would come in and go, "Hey, doctor," or they would, here's what they would say is they would call to cancel an appointment.
Yeah.
And they would want to cancel the appointment because they'd say, "Hey, I'm sick right now, and I don't wanna get anybody in the office sick."
Right.
And
Right.
our staff would always say, "No, that's exactly when you want to come in so that we can be able to make sure that your body is healthier so that you can heal from whatever it is that is going on inside your body right now." And then they were scared. They go, "Oh, I know, it's gonna help me to be healthier," but they would still say it, but I also don't want to get Doctor Rob sick either because he's going to be touching me as he's working on me.
Right.
And of course, the team and the staff, for the reason we're going to talk about today, would say, no, 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 still come on in. It's going to help you to be healthier. Dr. Rob is not worried about getting sick because of you coming in. And then we would see and take care of thousands of people. And you know what would never happen to us? We would never get sick. So, based on that theory right there, and we're going to talk about this germ theory. So, based on that theory, if I could have caught something from them, whether it be a flu virus or a bacteria, then I would have been sick the entire months of October, November, December, and January if I could have actually caught a cold from them. And so the
Right.
reason that I didn't was
Right.
because this belief that we're talking about right now. So let's go ahead and get into that. So, Dr. Rainey, and I
And
know
that's a
you,
great point, by the way. It's so true. Like that was a total, you know, anecdotal, but still science experiment around all the people we around. It had just never happened. What if you being sick is really your body doing the right thing and your detox symptoms, your coughing, your sneezing, your mucus, your runny nose, isn't going to make anybody sick. It's comical now when you think about it, but I know why people think that because we, even as little kids, that was baked into us that germs cause disease. And one of my favorite quotes is from one of our mentor. We didn't know him, but the developer of chiropractic, BJ Palmer, who said that if the germ theory were true, there'd be nobody living to talk about it.
100%. That was always one of the things growing up. My kids have never said, "Hey, I'm sick."
Right.
And so my kids knowing even growing up, what they would always say is, "Hey, you know what? They felt symptoms of
Yeah.
their body doing what it's supposed to be
Right.
doing." And they would always say, "You know what? I really don't like it when my body is expressing health." And we're
Exactly.
going to get into
Yeah.
what that means, but they never once said, "Hey, I'm sick," or "I have a cold," or any of those things. They're just like, "Hey, I'm expressing health right now. Dad, can you adjust me so that my body can be able to adapt to whatever is going on, and I can be able to heal faster from whatever is going on inside there." So let's talk about this thing. So what then is this germ theory? Where did it come from? And what is that germ theory versus what it is that we believe, which is more the terrain theory? Let's talk about.
Yeah, there's a real history behind this, and this really goes back to more like the mid 1800s to late 1800s, where you had two camps. You had one doctor, Doctor Beauchamp. He was a doctor there who was championing this terrain model, and then everybody, and of course, nobody knows who Beauchamp Champ was, but everybody knows who Louis Pasteur was. And Louis Pasteur was championing the germ theory. And if you know anything about Louis Pasteur and look at his history, he was a complete fraud. He plagiarized a lot of Beauchamp's work because he was pushing this germ narrative. He was very popular over in France politically, had a lot of power, was close with the emperor, even Napoleon. And they were really moving in the direction to move medicine into what we currently know today, which is this medical machine where everything's built on the germ theory. But really, Beauchamp's work was proven right over and over and over because really it wasn't about the germ or the virus or the bacteria. It was about the terrain. It was about the environment that is created. And that maybe, germs weren't there to make us sick. They were really there to help be a part of the healing process. But you can make a lot of money when you start thinking about a germ that makes somebody sick and now needing treatment with all these pharmaceuticals, drugs. In fact, the whole vaccine industry, Dr. Rob, is built off this faulty germ theory. And obviously, you can see who won out. I mean, heck, I remember reading books about Louis Pasteur as a kid and
Absolutely.
Jonas Salk. These were like American heroes. These were world heroes who helped us, quote, wipe out disease. And it couldn't be further from the truth. But as that began to bleed into the turn of the century, and now with mainstream medicine coming to the forefront, with the Flexner Report and the Rockefellers and the Carnegies and all the money that was there to be made from the petrochemical industry, we're now looking at an entire model that's built off a flaw, a foundational flaw that germs make us sick. And this is where today, if we can get you to change the way you think based off what the facts really are, you'll never have to be a victim again because the system really loves victims. And that's really what the germ theory has created.
So then let's talk about when somebody says, for example, going back to that, hey, I don't want to come into the office to get taken care of today because I think right now I may be contagious.
Yes,
So let's
yes.
talk about what contagion actually means. What's the definition of contagion? And also, is it real? So, defined contagion would really be that's, if you've got a pathogen, whether the pathogen be a virus, a bacteria, any kind of toxicity that could be passed from one person to another, and then that person or that other would now be infected by you. And that whatever the illness is that that other person has, it's going to be the same illness that you've got going on because you pass it on to the other person because you were, quote, contagious. And an example of that happening would be through touching somebody, through breathing in droplets of the air that's around them, and or touching a surface or an object. And you know that people believe this. I just experienced it yesterday, getting onto an airplane to fly back from the event that we were at in West Palm Beach. And you see that person that the first thing that they do when they get in their
Oh,
seat,
I know
and
exactly
it's
what
a,
you're about to
it,
say.
it's
Trigger.
it's funny because then you've got the wife that's
Yeah.
doing it for her and the husband. Before anybody touches anything, what do you imagine that person is doing? And I see Kathy right now on live. She's shaking her head because she knows exactly what I'm talking about right now. It's that person that reaches into their purse, they
Mm,
pull out the wipes, and they start wiping down the entire area.
unbelievable.
You can smell the chemicals, it's all over the place because she believes in this, what I'm talking about, that it could be contagious. The person who was sitting in that seat before her could pass on whatever virus or bacteria that they had in their body onto her unless she wipes all the seats down and sterilizes the entire area of that section of the plane because she
Uh,
believes in contagion.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. And, we don't make a lot of products, but the products we do make are all metabolically focused. So go check these out. Go to thehappyhealthylife.com. And when you get to checkout, use code podcast to save 10% off any and all of our metabolic friendly products.
Hey there. Thank you so much for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. We appreciate it. Now, if you're somebody who's curious about your metabolism, how you're doing with your metabolism, go to metabolismscore.com, take the quiz, find out where you're at.
Yeah, it's that waft of chemicals that I mean, it's like I'm gonna have to re-inoculate my lungs when I get back home. I'd be way more scared of all the chemicals in that wipe down than some germ that's not there to harm you or kill you. One of the favorite things I've ever heard is from a doctor I'm very fond of. His name is Dr. Tom Cowan, and he's one of the big influences in my life and our life on this topic. He's really great. He's written several incredible books, but he always talks about stick with what you can see, right? Because observation, nobody's observed a germ jumping from somebody and attacking another person and making them sick. Nobody's ever seen that. You've never seen it with your own eyes, you've never observed it. So the whole contagion thing really isn't about a germ making you sick. It's really when you see, it's kind of like what you said. It's like when you see a group of people in the same place at the same time expressing the same symptoms, and you believe that a germ made all that happen. And I'll give you an example that Dr. Tom Cowan gives that I really like. He goes, if you took a basement and you put 100 rats down in a basement and you put rat poison down in the basement, and you come back in 6 hours, you got 30 dead rats. You come back in 12 hours, you got another 30 dead rats. And by the next day, another 40 rats are dead and all 100 are dead. And so that would look like contagion, right? Like all these rats had the same symptoms at the same time at the same place, but you wouldn't call that a virus or a bacteria that made them sick. What happened to the rats?
Yeah,
They were
they were
poisoned.
poisoned.
Yeah, they were poisoned.
Toxins.
So contagion isn't about a germ, it's about an observation. And there's a lot of reasons why people will get sick. In fact, they used to think that beriberi, scurvy, pellagra, and rickets were contagious diseases. And what they find out? These were
They were
nutrient
deficient. Yeah,
deficiencies.
exactly.
These were deficiencies of real nutrient dense fresh food. But at that time, they thought these were germs that were making people sick. So when you look at contagion, you're thinking, well, there's got to be a lot of studies that have been done on this that have proven that sick people make healthy people sick. Because if flus and colds and whatever germs and diseases they've named really are that contagious, you would think it'd be really easy to prove that.
You would.
That would be the assumption. And I don't want to hear that Uncle Fred and Aunt Sally, passed on something to them. They got the same symptoms and they got sick. I'm not talking about an observation that you saw where you did not see a virus or a bacteria jump on somebody and make them sick. You saw contagion. All right. So there's some really interesting studies. Probably one of the best books I've ever read on this topic is a book called Can You Catch a Cold by Daniel Reuters. And it's the most well documented research book I've ever seen because it really gives you the data and the science. And so, what I found out years ago when you start looking at this is that there have been studies done on contagion. In fact, the largest studies and the only studies really that have been done that really followed the scientific method with the proper control and independent variable was done by our own military, our own government. These were done in 1918 at the height of the Spanish flu, which they told us was what? The most deadly,
Yeah.
dangerous, contagious virus that's ever existed. So they were doing experiments, and what they did, they took 161 sailors. They did it multiple places, a place called Deer Island, Angel Island, the Gallops Islands, 25 experiments over 6 months. And what they did is they were trying to make healthy people sick from sick people, people that supposedly had the Spanish flu. And what they found after all these trials were done and completed, that only 1.2% of these 161 sailors were even able to even express any symptoms or supposedly be sick. That's excuse me, I can't say the word, statistically insignificant and would happen regardless because at certain times we all are going to express some type of symptoms, which we know is detoxification. So think about this. 25 experiments over 6 months, 161 sailors conducted by our own Naval Academy, our own government, and the modal rate of transmission to make a sick person make a healthy person sick was 0%. They could not do it. In fact, they did follow up studies called the Rosenau trials, where they were once again working with the Navy and with our own government. This was published in 1919, Journal of the American Medical Association. They took 10 Navy soldiers, volunteers, and they took mucus from sick people, smeared it all over their face, squirted it down their throat. They took injections of their blood and gave the blood of sick people to healthy people. They took the mucus and the secretions and injected that into people. They coughed in their face. They exhaled in their face. They did everything they could do, and 0 people got sick. And they couldn't believe it. So they took another 50 sailors, did it all over again, and no people were able to be sick from sick people making healthy people sick. So there's hundreds and hundreds of these examples and trials that have been done. So the facts are in contagion has never been proven to exist. You cannot make healthy people sick by taking a sick person. It's been done. The trials have been done, and they don't do them anymore because they already know what's going to happen. It's going to be 0. It just doesn't work that way. And most people have no idea, Dr. Rob, that these studies have even been done, that they've been published, that they were done under our own military and U.S. government at the height, once again, of one of the worst flu pandemics they said has ever existed. You couldn't even make somebody sick. It shouldn't be that hard to catch the flu if it really is a real thing and if it's really contagious.
Yeah, and I think the reason that people don't hear about these studies is really the obvious reason that's out there. And I would even say that you would be challenged to be able to find those studies even today, simply because if that right there were then to get out and people were to start understanding this, can you imagine the pharmaceutical companies would go out of business simply because now that's a huge marketing arm for them. Watch TV today.
Mhm.
You're going to see all the things that are out there in order to be able to help you when you go through cold and flu season. Now you've got all these products to be able to help you with your body's symptoms and all these, all the different things. So that right there is why they do not want you to know about that. So really, when you're believing in this contagion theory, what you're really getting is a misrepresentation or a misinterpretation of correlation. Causation and correlation are two completely different things. So you got to really take a look then at what we're talking about being a more terrain theory and going, okay, well, maybe the cause is there's a problem with the terrain. There's
Right.
a problem with the environment inside your body.
Yes.
Maybe there's a problem with the environment, like utilizing that rats example, where you do have a group of people who are also exposed to similar stressors,
Yes.
similar environmental toxins, similar weather shifts, poor food, sugar, seed oils,
You got it.
lack of sleep, stress, all of these different things at this time of year. You think about it, people are freaked out. They're like, okay, maybe they lost their job. They didn't make as much money as they did last year. And the mortgage is due, the car payment is due. And I also got to buy gifts for other people,
It's very
right?
stressful. Yeah.
So there's a lot of these stresses. So what that's doing is that's really then changing the environment or the terrain on the inside, reducing your body's ability to adapt. And when your body loses its ability to adapt, your detox pathways that are needing to be able to then eliminate these toxins out of the body may then be storing these toxins inside the body. And then as a result, you're now expressing these
Yes.
symptoms of the toxins being inside your body. And what is your body always going to do under the circumstances? It's always going to do the right thing. It wants to get them out. And so now you have more mucus.
Yeah.
You're coughing these things out. Your body is trying to get these things out. And that right there truly is you not being sick. That's you being healthy and expressing that health.
Dude, that's beautifully said, and you couldn't be more right. It's not, it's, people do get, quote, sick. We're not saying that they don't, but you don't have to know what's true to know what's not true. And when you understand that it's not a germ making you sick, now that moves responsibility, like you're talking about, over to you. You do play more of a role in your health than you've been led to believe. You do have agency in outcomes with your health because it is a terrain, it is a lifestyle. It's how your body is adapting and healing in the situation that you've created. And if you take the germ thing off the table, now you don't have to be a victim anymore. Because I can tell you right now, when you believe in something that's not true, I believe it's very dangerous because you're looking for answers you'll never find. And it really diverts you from really looking at what could be the cause of what's going on. So people do get sick, or and when I say sick, they do express symptoms of healing.
Sure.
They do go through things that
Absolutely.
make them, have to adapt. The air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat. I mean, how many things in our environment now are we having to adapt to from, even non-native EMF frequencies, blue light. We're never outside anymore. We're never getting sun. We're all wearing rubber-soled shoes and never get our bare feet on the ground. We're eating fake food. We're living in a stressful environment, all those things you were talking about. Well, your body's got to do something with that. So those symptoms that you're expressing, it's not a germ, it's your body doing the right thing under the circumstances. Your body's symptom is a therapeutic healing response. There are zero exceptions to what I just said. And let me say it again. Your body's symptoms, that is a therapeutic healing response. It's doing the right thing. The greatest doctor in the world is inside of you. And so you can always trust that and support that versus trying to stop your body from detoxing, stopping the cough, stopping the fever, stopping the mucus, stopping the diarrhea. Whatever drugs you're taking to stop your body from healing is only making you sicker and shoving toxins and stress deeper into your tissue. And it's going to show up somewhere down the road. Why do we have an epidemic of sick, chronically diseased people with cancer and chronic disease? I think a lot of it has to do with believing in a faulty theory and drugging all your symptoms the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah, because you're causing a weakness in the system, which is
Yeah.
why you could go to another country, and maybe you've ever gone to another country, I don't know, call it Mexico, and gotten Montezuma's revenge, right?
Yeah.
That right there is a true expression of health. However, people in that country, they're not getting Montezuma's
No.
revenge, right? What's the difference? There's been an adaptation of that then terrain. There's been a growth process in the terrain of the people who are used to being in that. Their body has grown and learned how to be able to adapt, where your body has not yet learned how to be able to adapt to that. So then, with that being said, right there, then okay, so Dr. Rainey, then what is your opinion and the role of what bacterias actually even are? Because I know listeners are going to go, well, our bacterias are real. Are they real? Are viruses real? What are viruses? What are they actually? What are bacteria?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And that would fall into these are all the germs that are supposed to be making us sick and invading our tissue and causing us to become ill. And it just couldn't be further from the truth. Number one, that's never been proven. It's never been shown in any valid scientific experiment. And so if you even just look at words, right? Words do matter. So let's talk about the word virus,
Yeah.
right? It's such a scary thing, especially coming off the pandemic 5 years ago with COVID and all the things they've told us. And, it's now into flu season. That virus is coming to get you. But if you look at the word virus, if you look at the origins of the Latin of that word, it actually means poison or toxin.
Hmm.
So viruses are real, but they're not some microscopic germ that you can't see that's hijacking your cellular DNA and replicating and making you sick and killing you. It's a toxin or a poison. And if you look at the word antibody, right, that is an antitoxin. That's what that came from. Our bodies have a detoxification system when you get poisoned or when you get fed toxins or they enter into your body. So your body, it doesn't really even have an immune system. What are we trying to be immune from? Immune system would say that you're trying to be immune from a germ, but if germs aren't making you sick, do you really have an immune system? You really have a detoxification system. And just for the record, just so we're all clear, nobody's ever seen a virus. It's never been seen before. Nobody's ever seen a virus, once again, jump into another healthy person, hijack their cellular DNA and replicate. That's never been seen. It's never been done. In fact, the isolation of a virus has never ever been done in any scientific experiment. So really, viruses are about as real as the boogeyman. If you believe in the boogeyman, you know how traumatic that can be. So do your own research on this. I'm going to throw it out there. It definitely deserves more context
Yeah.
than what we can give it today. But a virus isn't a germ or something that's microscopic that's coming to get you. They've never been seen, they've never been proven to exist, but they create a lot of fear. It's more about what a toxin and a poison is, and your body has detoxification systems. Now, bacteria, on the other hand, do exist. They have been seen, but it's like you said earlier, causation versus correlation. You don't blame the firemen for starting the fire when you show up at the scene of an accident and see a fire, right? Germs are there. Germs aren't apart from us, they are us. And germs, actually, like bacteria, they're saprophytic. So, what that means is they eat dead, devitalized tissue. They don't eat healthy tissue. Right, if you've ever seen like the, you know, any type of a dead animal on the ground and you start seeing maggots and you start to see it decompose, that's all right, bacteria and maggots and these fungus that are breaking down this dead carcass, but they would never do it to a healthy animal because they don't eat healthy tissue. So bacteria are bioremediators. They're there as the cleanup crew. They're saprophytic. They eat devitalized tissue, and they're pleomorphic. They mutate and change and transform based off the terrain. What does the terrain look like? So if you've got bacteria, so for example, I used to get strep throat all the time. Okay, so every year I'd get it 2 and 3 times a year. So I'd get the sore throat, I'd get all the pus, I'd get all the bacteria, and I'd go to my doctor and they would swab my throat, and guess what they would tell me? Well, you got streptococcus, and then they would prescribe me a what?
An antibiotic.
You got it, which by the way is anti is against, biotic is life. So against life, I don't know that that's a good strategy, but they would give me this antibiotic. I would take it. Ultimately, 3 to 5 days later, the strep throat would go away, but then 3 months later, it would come back. But they would give me an antibiotic to somehow try to kill this bacteria that they said was causing my sore throat. What's interesting is that if you swab my throat right now, and I do not have strep throat, guess what bacteria they would find on the culture?
What bacteria would they find?
Streptococcus. They would find it because it's not there to kill me or make me sick. There's not good germs and bad germs or good bacteria and the bad bacteria. That's all a medical pharmaceutical lie. The bacteria are always there working on our behalf, like E. coli. E. coli has been told that it can kill people, and E. coli actually, if you test for it and find it, if you have it in high amounts, E. coli is really good at bioremediating heavy metals. Parasites are great at bioremediating heavy metals. I remember when I went to Spain and had cancer and they were doing all these tests, I was eaten up with parasites. It was because I had heavy metals. So all these antibiotics and even herbs to kill bacteria or these parasitic cleanses, guys, you're killing off the bugs that are a part of who we are, that are designed to help clean up the mess, not make the mess. We're blaming the firemen versus blaming what's causing the fire.
Yeah, so those are all symptoms of an unhealthy terrain.
You got it.
Okay. So that right there is what is actually making people feel sick, right? People don't feel good and they automatically equate not feeling good to being sick, right?
Yes.
You can sprain your ankle and it freaking hurts like heck, right? It's the inflammation. Is that a healthy response or a sick response? It's a healthy response.
Yes.
It doesn't feel good and it's your body being healthy, right? My son, when he was like 3 years old, ate an entire box of this cereal that was organic. And if you're eating real foods, it's gonna go bad. And this box was probably 2 months overdue, and he ate the whole entire box. And the next thing I know, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and he is sitting on the toilet. I'm sitting in front of him, holding a trash can as he's puking out of his mouth and puking out of his butt at the same exact time. Jacob would probably be not super happy that I just told that story. However, I never forget, his little bitty face and his big brown eyes looking up at me and going, Dad, I really don't like it when my body is expressing health. And he already knew that at 3 years old. So his body wasn't sick. His body was doing the right thing to be able to get out whatever toxins were now inside there that his body just didn't need at that time. So that's
Yeah.
why people can feel, quote, sick and not good that is your body's, your detox pathways working and doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so let's talk about then why it would be or why it could be that during this season in the winter, as we're getting into these winter months, why is it that this would bring on then more of these symptoms?
What's kind of what we talked about earlier. It is the terrain. You think about this time of year, people are usually eating worse food,
Yeah.
right? You're traveling more, you're probably getting less sleep, you're drinking more alcohol. There are
Mhm.
temperature changes that you're exposed to where your body's having to adapt and detox in maybe a different way than it typically would in warmer months. When we talked about how the cold can slow down the lungs' ability to get debris out. So now you have to create a fever to liquefy the mucus, to move the toxins out and cough it out. But your body is always doing the right thing under the circumstances. So the circumstances during this time of year is typically going to require your body to have to do more detox. But it's not because you've got germs floating around in the air, jumping from person to person, making you sick. You got to let that fairy tale go. It just isn't real. It's never been proven. It's never been seen. Remember, like Tom Cowan said, stick with what you can see. You're not seeing germs make you sick. You're not seeing an infection. You're not like, for example, I remember when I got bit by a spider. Do you remember that?
I do
I
remember
got
that.
bit by a
It
brown
was
recluse.
disgusting.
It was disgusting, and my whole arm just was so swollen, huge area where pus was building, and, I've got so much heat on my arm, it's inflamed, and everybody's telling me, "You're gonna get an infection, you gotta go to the doctor, you gotta take antibiotics," and I'm thinking, "Well, this would look like an infection if I thought that germs were making me sick," but I knew it wasn't an infection, it was a poison that was punctured and injected into my body, kinda like a vaccine, right? But a spider, it punctured my skin and injected me with poison, and my body was detoxing and walling off the poison, moving in all the detoxification pathways in the cells and whatever my body needed the bacteria to heal and restore. And over about 3 to 4 weeks, the swelling went away, the pus went away, and the body moved it out. But to many people, they would say, well, those symptoms are symptoms of an infection. Guys, it wasn't an infection. The bacteria were there to help me heal because I was poisoned by a spider. So that was the body doing the right thing, not the wrong thing. Yet everybody was calling it something that it wasn't. And it could have led me down a road where a lot of people who get bit by a brown recluse go to doctors, take these drugs. They end up having dead necrosed tissue and having holes in their arms or in their legs, and you would never know on my arm that I was ever bit by this spider because I honored my symptoms. So this time of year, if you're detoxing more, look at your terrain, look at your lifestyle, look at how you're living your life. Are you really in the same patterns that you were when you were actually feeling better? You're probably off track. And that's really why we're getting, quote, sick during the holidays versus Aunt Susie sneezing and making you sick. She's just not that powerful.
Yeah, so it is the reduced sunlight, for example. We'll talk about the practical things that you can be doing to be able to create a happier, healthier terrain during this time of year. But yeah, again, you've got the holiday stresses. You've got the cortisol being disrupting
Oh
your
my
body's
gosh,
detox
totally.
pathways, your body's repair cycles. You got the seasonal habits that are happening right now. You've got the increased sugar, the increased alcohol, the seed oils, the poor sleep, the indoor environments, temperature shifts that are really affecting your body's ability to be able to adapt. So we'll talk about some things that you can be able to do this season and why then you and why it is that you would actually look at this season now after having heard this podcast as why it's the cold and flu season really isn't the cold and flu season. It's really a lifestyle stress and excuse
You
season,
got it.
is really what it is. So now you're going to have the tools on how to strengthen your terrain throughout the winter. So, what's one thing that people can start doing right now as we are moving into the holidays? As we're moving into, we've got Thanksgiving is 2 weeks away. I know people are already thinking about eating whatever it is that they're going to be eating on Thanksgiving Day. What are things that people can start doing right now?
Yeah, well, and we talked about this in our previous episode is, once again, stick with real food, guys. If you're eating a bunch of fake processed food and getting, just poisoned with seed oil, your body's going to have to get rid of that. So just remember, focus on real food nutrition. Bring something that you know you want to eat to the party or to the family event. don't go so far off on your real food nutrition that you do weeks and weeks of eating fake food and casseroles and sauces and cookies and brownies and all this processed sugar. I can promise you, your body is going to get rid of that. You will detox, you will get a fever, you will get diarrhea, you will have the stomach the stomach bug, right? You didn't get a stomach bug, you ate cookies. There's a big difference. So just remember, don't deviate so far away from your normal routine where you still are focused on real food nutrition. Doesn't mean you have to be perfect, but that's why I love SCT oil, because I love bringing a jar of SCT oil to any event that I go to. It's a great conversation starter, number one, but it'll also support your gut, really create satiety, help support healthy hormones, satiety hormones, and you can even have that there if you want to put it on your food. I always have it there because most turkey at Thanksgiving is so dry. I've got to put SCT oil on it to even chalk it down. So don't be afraid to bring your own food to the party and also bring some SCT oil.
Also, bring your seed oil allergy card to the restaurant if you're gonna be eating
Yeah.
somewhere. I know we were giving them out this last week, and if you want one of those, seed allergy cards, basically, it's a card that shows all the different oils that your body would be allergic to and what substitutions that the restaurant can be able to use for you. So if you want one of those, you can DM us at the H2 Life or send an email over to info@h2thinvirtual.com, and they'll send you the PDF of that, and then you can be able to download that and utilize that as your seed oil allergy card. That way, if you've got that weird feeling like you don't want to be that person at the restaurant,
Yeah.
hey, just give the seed oil allergy card over to the waiter, and you will be the server, and you will be good to go.
It works beautifully too. I keep them on me at all times. I was at a restaurant on Sunday, and I made that request for the steak and the eggs for brunch, and I just asked if they could cook that in butter, and he was like, "I'm not sure if we what we have," and so I gave him the card, he took it to the back, and he's like, "We have butter, we can cook everything," and it was not a big deal, and it really helped the server, so don't be afraid to have those conversations, they are important.
Yep. Next thing is, you know what? Honor your symptoms and stop drugging them.
Yes.
Stop making your first line of defense driving to CVS or Walgreens to get something for whatever your symptom is. Honor that symptom and ask yourself better questions. What is it that I did that could have actually caused this? Did I eat the cookies? Did I eat the whatever? How much sleep did I get last night? Am I stressed out? What are some of those things that could have caused this? And then look for things that you can be able to do in order to be able to eliminate doing those things anymore. So if you got questions about how to even do that, I have, and we were just even at this conference that we were at this last weekend where they were talking about you need to utilize AI even to be able to help show you some things that you can be doing. I just say, hey, these are the things that I did. What are things that I can do in order to be able to help me with those different things? And it may be, maybe you didn't get enough sleep, or maybe you were really stressed. And so, one of the things that you can be able to do to combat stress is be in gratitude.
Yes,
And
amen to
so,
that.
have a daily gratitude practice that you can be able to do as well. So, what about
And
what?
that's huge, by the
Yeah.
way, too. I think this could be one of the most powerful things that you could do that a lot of people just unconsciously they're on autopilot is every time you have a symptom, you're thinking about something you can take to stop the symptom. And remember the symptom, the fever, the cough, the runny nose, the mucus, the diarrhea, whatever it is, that is your body's therapeutic healing response. And every time you stop your body from detoxing and healing, you're pushing poisons and toxins deeper into your tissue, and it will show up later. Remember, we've got a country now full of chronically sick people, Dr. Rob, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that their bodies are so poisoned and they've taken so many over the counters and pharmaceutical drugs that stop the body from healing that somewhere it's going to show up. If you stop your cough for a decade with cough suppressants, don't be shocked if lung cancer shows up somewhere down the road. So, drugs are such a huge piece to this puzzle. Obviously, you would never want to take drugs, but we're talking about over the counter legal drugs are just as dangerous and could potentially be creating a worse terrain for you that's setting you up for even more chronic disease, illnesses, sickness that your doctor will only have more drugs to give you to treat all of those symptoms as well.
Yeah, and so do all those things in order to be able to create a happier, healthier season. Is do those things that you can do that are free. You've got to get out into the sunlight, breath work, movement, hydration, earthing, grounding. We just talked about the gratitude. These are all
Yeah.
things that are free
Yes.
that you can do for yourself on a daily basis. And so plan ahead, prepare, do the work before all these things really start working on you. I find that I am always most prepared when I've done the work ahead of time.
Yeah, always have a plan. Don't go because not having a plan is a plan. It's a non-plan plan, I believe is what they say. But yeah, keep your body in motion too. Don't be scared to maybe leave the party, go for a 20-minute walk, get outside. Sitting inside a lot of times too under artificial light, with this dry heat and the cold can really dry out your lungs, can even cause your body to have to want to detox even more. So keep your body fresh, keep it outside if you can, bundle up if it's cold where you are, but don't be afraid to leave the party, get outside, go for a walk. Remember, walking is such a key thing. Do something that you're committed to every single day where you keep your body moving. If you don't move for weeks at a time and you start putting all these toxic foods in your body and taking these over the counter medications and not sleeping well, remember, your body is going to show up with a quote disease, and it's going to be the symptom that your body is really using to get you well. And you've been tricked to think that it's a germ that's making you sick. And remember, you don't have to know it's true to know it's not true. It's never a germ making you sick. It is a terrain issue. It is a lifestyle issue. How are you adapting to your environment chemically, physically, and emotionally? Which is why I love the thing you said the most, which was vitamin G. Live in gratitude. We have so much to be thankful for. People who live in gratitude express symptoms of healing a lot less often.
True story. And another one, this is huge. It's really prioritizing you when it comes to sleep. Sleep and rest is when your body is repairing
Yes.
from all of these stressors that are on the outside. So really prioritize that. It's okay to get 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep. I think that had been vilified, a while back where people were like, you can sleep when you're dead. The reality is that you're going to be dead sooner if you don't prioritize your body healing and repairing. So that's huge. And that's where the studies now are showing how much rest and recovery are important to your body's healing and repair cycles, and something that you can use on a daily basis that can help you with your healing and repairing would be our H2 trace minerals to be able to get minerals into the cells. You can also use our surge minerals as well. That's a way that you can be able to support cellular energy that is essential for that healing while your body is sleeping.
100%. Minerals are so vital to hydration. And remember, minerals compete with heavy metals in the body. So it's a great way to help move heavy metal out by giving your body clean, absorbable minerals through like you said, we've got our surge minerals, our H2 trace minerals. We put this on everything. This is something I would take with you when you travel or leave or go anywhere. Always have that on you. In fact, we were listening, speaking of sleep, we were listening to Dan Buettner. He's the guy who discovered the blue zones, and what he found is that the people who were living the longest in these regions, that 7 hours of sleep was kind of that sweet spot.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure you're focusing on getting that 7 hours. Sometimes I'll sleep more, sometimes your body needs it, but I can tell you when I don't get the 7, you definitely feel it, and there's probably nothing more important to your healing terrain than getting quality sleep, lights out in the evening, get off your phones and computers at night. When the lights go down, make sure that you're not staring at a computer screen because those blue lights can activate and script your circadian rhythms, disrupt your sleep. So just make sure you're focusing on that. Don't be eating a bunch of food before you go to bed either, because obviously that can completely disrupt your hormones and disrupt your sleep as well.
Here's a huge one. As you were just talking about that, we don't even have this in our notes. I can't believe we left it off.
What's that?
Yeah, it's one of the things that Dan said when he was talking about the blue zone is the importance of connection.
Yes.
The importance of connection and community, and being in a community of like-minded people who support you, who lift you up, who make you better. And so he did mention a lot of the speakers this last weekend mentioned how, your circle really, if you want to know who you are, look at your circle.
Yes.
And you are the product of those 5 people that you spend the most time with, right? You want to be that sixth person that adds into that. And so that's why I love our happy, healthy community. I love the people who are on with us right now because they lift each other, they support each other. If you want information on how to get into and join our Happy Healthy community by doing our metabolism program. We do have a metabolism program that can be able to set the foundation for healing. A lot of people were talking about gut problems this last weekend. Do we believe that you need to have a healthy gut? Yeah, it's part of your train. But the way you have the happiest, healthiest gut is to be able to have a firm, rock solid metabolic foundation. The best way to do that is by doing our metabolism program. And then if you don't feel like you're ready to do that metabolism program, well, if you get our Thermostat Burn Plus product or our Crave Control product, we've got a 10-day program that you can be able to do that we give to you so that you can really start laying that foundation down. So it's kind of like the warm up
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah,
And
just
we've got,
start somewhere, right?
yeah,
Don't keep talking about it. Well, they say don't sing it, bring it, right? Words are only valuable or information's only valuable if you do something with it. Information without application, Dr. Rob, is what?
is hallucination.
You got it, right? So don't be that person. But these are all just simple things, guys. You're just not a victim at the end of the day. You really are a victor. God's given you everything that you need. We had this conversation multiple times over this weekend at the conference Eudaimonia there in West Palm Beach. And people really have lost that. Even smart people in this room who know a lot about health, they've really deviated and they look at their body as broken. Guys, you're just not broken. You don't have a genetic mutation. You don't have some autoimmune condition. Once again, that's ridiculous that your body would attack itself. That is a complete lie and a complete hustle. You're fearfully and you're wonderfully made. You're made in the image of God. You're not junk. You have already been healed and restored. The goal is not to find more healing or pray for more healing. The prayer really is, God, help me take more responsibility in my life, in the choices that I make, so I can remove the interference to this beautiful body that you gave me, that when you create the right environment, it will thrive, it will flourish, and it's so powerful. Greater is he that is in you than he that's in some microscopic germ that you just can't see. You are your greatest doctor.
Sound a lot like Romans 12, 1 through 2, right there.
There's a lot of Bible coming out of me right
There it
now.
is right now. Absolutely. All right.
Right.
So in closing, you know what? It's like you just said, you're not a victim. Okay. Your body is self-healing. You've got an adaptive system. Honor that. Build the terrain, reduce that toxic load, support the detox pathways. That's going to help you stay happy and healthy. So next steps, we're going to put in the resources. Follow us at the H2 Life on Instagram. You can DM us your questions there. Go to thehappyhealthylife.com if you want more information about our products and programs. And if you're curious about how your metabolism is doing, we have a free test at metabolismscore.com that you can check out. And then also, if you want that seed oil allergy card, go to seedoilallergy.com. There you go. Thank you so much for listening to the show. We appreciate you. And if you're one of our members in our Happy Healthy community, stick around because we're going to answer some questions specific to you.
Thanks for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. If you enjoy the show, make sure to follow them on Instagram at the H2 Life or on YouTube and Facebook at the Happy Healthy Guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.